Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were being slowly drained of your energy, your happiness, and your sense of self? Where every conversation left you feeling exhausted, every interaction made you feel like you were walking on eggshells, and every moment together felt like a constant struggle to stay afloat? If so, you're not alone. In fact, research suggests that up to 10% of the population may be what's known as emotional vampires. Individuals who feed on the emotional energy of others, often leaving their partners feeling drained, depressed, and utterly depleted. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology by researcher Dr. Delroy Paulhas from the University of British Columbia found that individuals with narcissistic personality disorder, a common trait among emotional vampires, are more likely to engage in manipulative and exploitative behavior in their relationships. But what's even more disturbing is that these emotional vampires often go undetected, hiding behind a mask of charm and charisma that makes them almost impossible to spot. They're the masters of manipulation, using their wit, their charm, and their good looks to lure us in and keep us hooked. And once we're under their spell, it can be incredibly difficult to break free. According to a study by Dr. Craig Malkin from Harvard University, people who are in relationships with narcissists often experience what's known as a trauma bonding, a phenomenon where the brain becomes so accustomed to the constant stress and anxiety of the relationship that it begins to produce feelings of attachment and loyalty, even in the face of abuse. This can make it incredibly difficult to leave the relationship, even when we know it's toxic. Another study by Dr. Julia Shaw from University College London found that people who have experienced emotional abuse in their relationships are more likely to experience long-term mental health problems, including depression, anxiety, and even PTSD. So, how can you tell if you're dating an emotional vampire? And more importantly, how can you protect yourself from their toxic grasp? The term emotional vampire was first coined by psychologist Dr. Albert J. Bernstein, who described these individuals as people who feed on the emotional energy of others, often leaving their partners feeling drained and depleted. But what makes someone an emotional vampire, and how can you spot the signs? Well, according to Dr. Bernstein, emotional vampires often have a few key characteristics in common. They're often incredibly charming and charismatic, able to sweep us off our feet with their good looks and their quick wit. But beneath this charming exterior lies a complex web of manipulation and control. They're masters of playing on our emotions, using guilt, anger, and self-pity to get what they want from us. And once they've got us under their spell, they'll stop at nothing to keep us there. One of the key signs that you're dating an emotional vampire is that you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells around them. You never know what's going to set them off, and you're always trying to anticipate their next mood swing. This can be incredibly exhausting, leaving you feeling like you're constantly on edge, never knowing what's going to happen next. Another sign is that you feel like you're being constantly drained of your energy. Every conversation leaves you feeling exhausted. Every interaction makes you feel like you're being sucked dry. This can be a major red flag, as it suggests that your partner is feeding off your emotional energy, using it to fuel their own needs and desires. And then there's the fact that you feel like you're constantly being manipulated and controlled. Your partner uses guilt, anger, and self-pity to get what they want from you, and you often find yourself feeling like you're being held hostage by their emotions. As we delve deeper into the world of emotional vampires, it's clear that these individuals are not just manipulative and controlling, but also incredibly intelligent and calculating. They know exactly how to play on our emotions, using our deepest fears and desires against us. They're like predators, stalking their prey and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And once they've got us in their sights, they'll stop at nothing to get what they want. But what's even more disturbing is that emotional vampires often have a deep-seated need for control and power. They use their relationships as a way to feed their own ego and self-esteem, often leaving their partners feeling drained and depleted in the process. According to Dr. Paulhas' study, individuals with narcissistic personality disorder are more likely to engage in manipulative and exploitative behavior in their relationships, which can have serious consequences for their partners. As we explore the psychology behind emotional vampires, it's clear that these individuals are not just toxic partners, but also a reflection of our own deepest fears and desires. They represent the darker aspects of our own psyche, the parts of ourselves that we often try to keep hidden. And it's this that makes them so incredibly compelling, so incredibly attractive. We're drawn to their charm and charisma, their confidence and self-assurance. But beneath this facade lies a complex web of manipulation and control, a web that can be incredibly difficult to escape. So, how can you protect yourself from emotional vampires? And what are the signs that you're dating one? Well, that's what we're going to explore in the rest of this video, as we delve deeper into the psychology of emotional vampires and the ways in which they operate. It's a fascinating and complex topic, one that requires a deep understanding of human psychology and behavior. According to Dr. Malkin's study, people who are in relationships with narcissists often experience a range of emotions, from feelings of euphoria and excitement to feelings of anxiety and fear. This can be incredibly confusing, making it difficult to know what's real and what's not. But by understanding the psychology behind emotional vampires, we can begin to see the signs and symptoms of their behavior and take steps to protect ourselves from their toxic grasp. And that's exactly what we're going to do, as we explore the 9 signs that you're dating an emotional vampire and what you can do to break free from their toxic relationship. As we continue to explore the world of emotional vampires, it's clear that these individuals are not just toxic partners, but also a reflection of our own societal values and norms. We live in a culture that often prioritizes charm and charisma over kindness and empathy, and this can make it difficult to spot the signs of emotional vampirism. But by being aware of these signs, and by taking steps to protect ourselves, we can begin to create a more empathetic and compassionate society, one that values kindness and empathy above all else. And that's a topic we'll be exploring in more depth as we delve deeper into the psychology of emotional vampires and the ways in which they operate. But for now, let's take a closer look at the signs and symptoms of emotional vampirism and what you can do to protect yourself from their toxic grasp. It's a journey that requires courage and self-awareness, but one that can ultimately lead to greater freedom and empowerment. And as we explore the psychology behind emotional vampires, it's clear that this is a journey that's not just about avoiding toxic relationships, but also about understanding ourselves and our own emotional needs. So, let's take a deep breath and dive into the world of emotional vampires as we explore the signs and symptoms of their behavior and what you can do to break free from their toxic grasp. And that's when you start to notice that your partner is not just draining your energy, but also manipulating your emotions. And that's when you realize that you need to take a step back and reevaluate the relationship, because if you don't, you might find yourself trapped in a cycle of abuse and manipulation, and that's when you start to wonder. As we dive deeper into the world of emotional vampires, it's essential to recognize the subtle signs that can indicate you're in a toxic relationship. One of the most significant red flags is when your partner consistently makes you feel bad about yourself, eroding your self-esteem and confidence. This can be incredibly damaging, as research by psychologist Kristen Neff has shown that self-compassion is a crucial component of our emotional well-being. In her study, Neff found that individuals who practiced self-compassion were more resilient to stress and anxiety and had better emotional regulation. On the other hand, being in a relationship with someone who constantly criticizes and belittles you can make it challenging to develop and maintain a positive self-image. Another sign that you're dating an emotional vampire is when your partner is overly dependent on you, constantly seeking reassurance and validation. This can be draining, as you may feel like you're shouldering the entire emotional burden of the relationship. According to a study by psychologist Jeffrey Simpson, people who are insecurely attached to their partners tend to be more anxious and demanding in their relationships. Simpson's research found that when individuals feel insecure, they may become overly clingy or needy, as a way of seeking comfort and reassurance from their partner. This can be exhausting, especially if you're someone who values independence and alone time. So, how can you protect yourself from emotional vampires and toxic relationships? Firstly, it's crucial to set clear boundaries and prioritize your own emotional needs. This means learning to say no, without feeling guilty or obligated to explain yourself. For instance, if your partner is constantly calling or texting you, demanding to know where you are and who you're with, it's okay to tell them that you need some space and time to yourself. You can say something like, "Hey, I love you, but I need some time to focus on myself right now. Can we catch up later? This can help you maintain a sense of autonomy and independence in the relationship. Secondly, it's essential to practice self-compassion and self-care. This means taking time to engage in activities that nourish your mind, body, and soul, such as exercise, meditation, or spending time in nature. By prioritizing your own well-being, you can develop a stronger sense of self and become less dependent on your partner for emotional validation. For example, if you're someone who loves reading, make time to read a book or article that inspires and uplifts you. This can help you feel more grounded and centered, even in the midst of a chaotic relationship. Thirdly, it's vital to surround yourself with positive and supportive people who uplift and encourage you. This can include friends, family members, or a therapist who can provide you with emotional support and guidance. Having a strong support network can help you develop a more realistic perspective on your relationship and provide you with the courage and confidence to make positive changes. For instance, if you're feeling unsure about your relationship, talk to a trusted friend or family member about your concerns. They may be able to offer you a fresh perspective or provide you with the support and encouragement you need to make a change. Lastly, it's crucial to recognize that you deserve to be in a relationship that is mutually respectful, supportive, and nourishing. If you're consistently feeling drained, anxious, or unhappy in your relationship, it may be time to reevaluate whether this is the right partnership for you. Remember, you have the power to choose who you want to be in a relationship with, and it's never too late to make a change. By prioritizing your own emotional well-being and taking care of yourself, you can break free from the toxic cycle of emotional vampirism and cultivate a more positive, loving relationship. It's also worth noting that emotional vampires can be incredibly charming and charismatic, which can make it difficult to recognize the signs of a toxic relationship. They may use tactics like gaslighting or manipulation to control and exploit their partner, making it challenging for the victim to recognize what's happening. However, by being aware of these tactics and prioritizing your own emotional well-being, you can protect yourself from falling into the trap of an emotional vampire. In addition to setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care, it's also essential to develop a sense of emotional awareness. This means being able to recognize and understand your own emotions, as well as the emotions of your partner. By developing emotional awareness, you can better navigate conflicts and challenges in your relationship and cultivate a more empathetic and supportive partnership. For example, if you're feeling angry or frustrated with your partner, take a step back and try to understand where they're coming from. This can help you respond in a more thoughtful and compassionate way rather than simply reacting to the situation. By taking these steps and prioritizing your own emotional well-being, you can break free from the toxic cycle of emotional vampirism and cultivate a more positive, loving relationship. Remember, you deserve to be in a relationship that is mutually respectful, supportive, and nourishing. Don't be afraid to take care of yourself and prioritize your own emotional needs. If this helped you see yourself differently, subscribe. I post new psychology insights every single day. And if you want to go even deeper, check the link in the description for the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. It changed how millions of people think and act.